Hi, I'm Justin Vanderwerf, Product Marketing Manager for Micro Focus's Data Center Automation software. On behalf of Micro Focus and Vivid, welcome to Vivid's virtual customer days. Hopefully you've been enjoying the sessions that you've attended so far. Today, I'd like to talk with you about some of the features and capabilities of data center automation and how it can help you manage your hybrid IT environment. We'll start by going through an overview of DCA and talk about how it can deliver value to your business with features like its market-leading out-of-the-box compliance content, its enterprise standard provisioning and configuration templates, and its broad range of support and integration with multi-vendor server OS, databases, and middleware. After that, I'd like to show you a quick demonstration of how DCA's vulnerability risk management capabilities can help you take a proactive approach to securing your data center against the latest threats and vulnerabilities. After the demo, we'll do a quick wrap-up before turning it over to our live Q&A session, where we'll answer all of your burning questions about DCA. So let's dive in, shall we?
We're going to start off with an overview of DCA, how it fits into hybrid IT management, and touch on its features and capabilities. If you've attended a previous session, you may be familiar with this diagram, but for those that aren't, I'd like to take a minute to go over it. This diagram represents the primary functional areas of IT operations within hybrid IT management. As you can see, the four functional areas are service management, service assurance, service governance, and service fulfillment. All four of these functional areas are built on top of analytics and automation. The outcomes of these functional areas are threefold. They help accelerate application delivery and support a strong DevOps pipeline. They deliver insights to key stakeholders in IT management as well as across the business, and they enable the entire organization to have a stronger security position due to improved compliance and governance, more automated threat responses, and more consistent service delivery. So where does DCA fit into all of this? As you can see here, DCA fits primarily within the service governance diamond and also has some features that fit within service fulfillment. DCA helps you proactively secure your data center by automating regulatory, security, and internal IT compliance tasks. With its comprehensive out-of-the-box compliance benchmark library, you can quickly assess, prioritize, and remediate compliance risks automatically. In addition, DCA's vulnerability risk management features make it easy to scan against the latest threats to your data center, then prioritize and track vulnerabilities in a central risk dashboard. DCA's intelligent scheduler automatically schedules patch jobs to run based on service level objectives and maintenance windows, helping protect your data center while minimizing the impact on your business operations. While DCA's primary use case is service governance, it also has enterprise-scale provisioning and configuration capabilities using its customizable build plan templates. It also features database and middleware provisioning templates, as well as policy-aware provisioning, which associates templates to compliance and patching policies for automated initial enforcement during the provisioning process and ongoing scanning and remediation to ensure continued compliance. DCA uses a three-step approach to IT compliance and vulnerability risk management. The first step is assessment, understanding the problem. Using DCA, you can scan your data center against policies using the compliance and vulnerability content provided by DCA out of the box. Or you can set up your own policies to scan against to meet internal compliance benchmarks. Prioritization follows. Where do you focus, and how do you create a plan? DCA makes it easy to determine what compliance variances should be fixed and what patches should be applied first. Visualize compliance violations and vulnerability risks in a single dashboard. Prioritize based on severity, impacted resources, and the age of the risk. And finally, fix the problem. Once the risks are prioritized, remediate them according to SLOs and maintenance windows. DCA provides market-leading, out-of-the-box regulatory compliance content. No other solution has both regulatory scan and remediation content across such a large variety of operating systems, database, and middleware. DCA doesn't just offer compliance scanning, but pairs remediation actions with all compliance scan content. Shown here are the regulatory and security benchmarks such as PCI, SOX, and CIS. These benchmarks contain compliance and remediation rules for operating systems, database, and middleware. In addition, DCA provides deployment templates supplied out of the box with regulatory compliant templates. For example, you could use a deployment template to provision an Oracle database that is already configured to be CIS compliant. DCA's out-of-the-box IT compliance content supports a broad range of commercial and open-source server OS, database, and middleware. DCA can also integrate with resources managed by SA and Puppet, so your IT team can support the continued use of existing tools. Once DCA discovers these resources, it can run compliance and vulnerability operations on them. With this feature, non-central teams such as different lines of business can continue to use Puppet and maintain their autonomy and flexibility, while central IT can govern consistent security policies across the data center. Using orchestration workflows, DCA makes any custom process consistent, repeatable, and scalable on a single platform and across a large set of data center infrastructure. Finally, with its open APIs, you can call DCA functions from any application or script. This makes it easier to integrate DCA's functionality into external technologies. For example, if you were using Micro Focus's hybrid cloud management solution for your provisioning, you could set up an API call from HCM to DCA in order to configure ongoing patching and compliance on day one for newly provisioned resources. Now that we've seen an overview of some of the features and capabilities of DCA, let's go through a quick demo of how you can use these features to take a proactive approach to securing your data center.
Okay, let's set up a scenario. Let's say you're an IT operations person responsible for a set of Windows servers that runs your company's Skype for Business platform. You've heard some news recently about a new vulnerability in Skype for Business that could potentially put your company at risk for a data breach. Naturally, you want to assess the servers that you're responsible for to see if they're vulnerable to this threat. And if they are, you want to remediate them as soon as possible. Now that we've painted this picture, I'm going to show you how you can use data center automation to quickly assess your data center against this threat, prioritize the risk based on a number of different factors, and then automatically remediate any resources that are at risk. So let's dive in and take a look at how we can do this. Okay, so here we're inside of DCA, and you can see we're on the Author tab, and you can see that we have some patches that are listed there already that DCA is imported. And what we want to do in this case is we want to create a new patch bundle that only contains the patches for this Skype for Business vulnerability that we want to scan for. So we'll click on Patch Bundles, and we're going to add a new patch bundle. We'll give it a name, call it Windows Patches for Skype for Business Vulnerability, and let's save that. Here you can see we have our patch bundle created, but there's no patches in it yet, so we're going to add some patches. So this shows you a list of vendor patches. You can see there's about a little over 2,800 of them in here that DCA has imported. And you can see some other information about these patches, the vendor, their severity, the CVE that they're related to. The CVE is imported directly from the National Vulnerability Database. So DCA does a lot of this behind the scenes to make sure that you have the most up-to-date information. Now, on this screen, you can search by name or you can search by CVE. In this case, we know the CVE that we're looking for, so we're going to put that in. And it comes up with 4 patches related to this CVE. So we're going to select all of those, and we'll add those to our patch bundle. You can see the patches are selected here. And if we go back to patch bundles, you'll see at the bottom here we have the Windows patches for Skype for Business vulnerability, and that's the patch bundle that we just created. Now that we have our patch bundle set up and we've told DCA what we want to scan for, we're going to go ahead and set up a policy to tell DCA when to scan the relevant resources. In this case, our Windows servers. So we'll click on Policies. And as you can see, DCA comes with some really nice out-of-the-box compliance policies that you can use to run your compliance audits. So if you want to scan for, say, PCI compliance or HIPAA compliance, you can select one of the policies that are already here and just go ahead and run your scan. In our case, we only want to scan we want to create a new policy and only scan for the patch bundle that we created earlier. So we're going to click Add, and we'll give our policy a name. We're also going to set the measurement service level objective, which tells DCA how often to run this policy scan, and the remediation SLO, which tells DCA how long it has to remediate any problems should it find any. Now, DCA's intelligent scheduler is going to use these SLOs along with the maintenance windows that we'll set up in just a bit in order to automatically schedule the policy scan and any remediation actions if necessary. So once we've got this all set up, click on Add, and you can see we've got our new policy created, but we don't have any patch bundles assigned to it yet. So we need to go ahead and add the patch bundle that we created earlier. So we'll click Add, and we'll find the bundle that we created and add that to our policy. Now you can see we have our policy created, we've defined the relevant SLOs, and we've also told it which patch bundle we want to scan against. Now that we've created our patch bundle and defined our scan policy, all we need to do is attach our policy to the appropriate resource group and define our maintenance window. Then DCA will have everything it needs to assess whether or not our servers are at risk. So to attach our scan policy to a resource group, I've gone under the Resource Management tab in DCA, and I've selected our Windows Servers Resources group. You can see that currently no maintenance schedules or policy subscriptions have been defined, so let's go ahead and add the policy that we just created. So we'll click on Add, and you can see here the compliance policy scans that DCA comes with out of the box. So if you wanted to scan a resource group for one of these compliance policies, you wouldn't need to create a custom policy. You could just select it right from here. In our case, we want to select the policy that we created earlier, so we'll select that and we'll add it to our resource group. Now you can see the policy there. We'll go back to our resource group, and if we scroll down, you can see that we've added the policy. And here you can see the resources or the servers within this resource group that DCA is going to scan against that policy. The next thing we need to do is set up our maintenance schedule on this group. So we'll click on Add, and we'll give it a name. We'll just call it Maintenance Window. And we're going to set the duration and the start time, and also how often it should occur. And you would change these settings to be whatever that worked best for your business. So we'll go ahead and click on Save. And if we go back to our resource group, we can see that now we have our maintenance window and we have our policy subscription. So now that we have all that set up, we can come up here and take a look at the Jobs tab. And you can see that DCA has automatically scheduled the policy scans for the relevant resources during the next available maintenance window. After the scan jobs have run, we can quickly view and prioritize the results from DCA's Vulnerability Risk Dashboard. The dashboard uses data from common vulnerability and exposures listed in the National Vulnerability Database, along with patch metadata from OS vendors and patch scan results from scans like the ones we set up earlier in this demo. DCA uses all of this information to give you an actionable risk dashboard. Let's take a quick tour of the dashboard. The top row tracks key risks and will show weekly trends of how many resources are impacted. In the middle row, on the left, you can see a list of the most recent critical vulnerabilities and how many resources you have that are affected by them. The pie chart in the middle shows how many resources fall under various categories of vulnerability, from vulnerable to not vulnerable at all, and the bar chart on the right shows the number of vulnerabilities by resource type. Across the bottom, you can see vulnerabilities by age. This is important because older risks are easier to exploit. If you recall the Equifax data breach, that was caused by a known vulnerability that was fairly old. They just failed to properly patch it. So let's go back to the top. And here we can see that we have 5 resources impacted by the Skype vulnerability that we scanned for. If we clicked on that, we can take a deeper dive into any of the resources. In this case, we'll click on the last one. On this screen, we can see that this Windows resource needs to be patched. We can also see that the CVSS score shows that this patch is a high priority. Clicking on the score, we can see the patch that's needed, the CVE that it's related to, the CVSS score, and the status of the patch. DCA pulls in all of this information automatically from the National Vulnerability Database so that you have up-to-date, accurate information in order to prioritize the risks in your data center. All right, so I've gone back to our resources page where you can see the servers that are vulnerable, and now we want to take the final step in this process, which is to remediate these servers. Now, if you recall, we set up our maintenance windows and SLOs previously, so DCA's Intelligent Scheduler has already scheduled the remediation jobs in the background. However, since I can't keep all of you sitting here for 7 days while we wait for the remediation to take place, we're going to go ahead and kick that off right now so that we can all sleep soundly tonight. So from this screen, we're just going to go up to the actions icon and we're going to select remediate. From the remediation screen, we just need to select the policy that we want to remediate against. So we select our approved patches policy, and we click OK. Then we want to select the resources that we want to apply the remediation to. In this case, we're going to select all, and then we're going to click on remediate. Now, you'll notice at the top here that we'll get a message that says that the remediation has started, and we can go to the jobs page to check the status of it. Depending on how many patches have to be installed and how many resources are effective, the remediation job could take a while. But since this is a demo, I'm guessing this is going to go pretty quickly. So let's go ahead and see if we still have any vulnerable resources after the remediation has run. I went back to our resources page, and from here we need to change the filter from the vulnerability that we were searching for earlier to our parent resources group, and we'll change that CVE back to Windows servers, and we'll look at our server group. Great, so you can see here are the resources under that parent resource group that we ran the remediation against, and you can see that they are no longer vulnerable. Well, that brings us to the end of our demo, but before I wrap this up, I'd like to give you a real-world example of the kind of value that DCA can bring to a business. A while back, we started with Verizon Wireless to help them with their PCI and SOX compliance audits. Before implementing DCA, the process for their audits was complex to say the least. Teams would write their own audit scripts, which required a lot of time and labor, and those efforts were duplicated across multiple teams, further wasting valuable employee hours. In addition, they often had to communicate at length with consultants and auditors, resulting in human errors and more wasted employee hours. The process was so complex that they could not feasibly perform every system check. So instead, they performed subsets of checks on randomized system subsets. Sounds like a lot of fun, right? Enter DCA. After implementing DCA, Verizon was able to standardize and automate those complex manual processes. This resulted in less human error and less wasted labor. In addition, they are now able to perform all systems checks on all of their systems versus a subset of system checks on a subset of systems. Finally, they reduced their mean time to repair on any issues that they discovered from hours to minutes. The end result? A more comprehensive audit against their compliance benchmarks, a reduction in errors and manual processes, faster MTTR for compliance issues, and a $35 million savings over 5 years. You can read more about the Verizon success story by visiting our resources page at microfocus.com/resources and search for the keyword Verizon. Okay, let's go over a quick summary of what we covered. We started off with an overview of DCA's features and capabilities and how it fits into your hybrid IT management strategy, with a focus on helping you with your service governance processes. In the demo, we saw how you can use DCA to assess, prioritize, and remediate vulnerabilities, all within a single, intuitive interface. We also showed how you can create your own policy scan or use one of DCA's out-of-the-box scans to assess the risk of your data center. Then we took a look at how DCA uses the scan data, along with CVE data from the National Vulnerability Database and OS vendor metadata to build an actionable risks dashboard that you can use to prioritize any risks that were found. Finally, we took a look at DCA's closed-loop remediation capabilities, which allowed us to remediate the vulnerabilities that we found automatically. Now, we've only been able to cover a small slice of what DCA is capable of, so we invite you to learn more by visiting the DCA website at microfocus.com/DCA or our partner portal at docs.microfocus.com. You can also follow us on social media and read our blog for the latest updates and news. Finally, I'd like to thank you for watching this presentation. Hopefully you learned something new about DCA and how it can help you in your business operations. If you have any questions, please stick around as one of our product managers will be available for a live question and answer session. Thanks again and enjoy the rest of Vivid's virtual customer days.